In this video, I will be just demonstrating how I accomplished this pink and white ombre set with 2 accent nails and 2 nails with rhinestones. When you first place your bead when doing an ombre set, make sure that you lay your bead right at the stress point. That's the area that's at the free edge from sidewall to sidewall. You're going to notice in these tutorials that I use a lot of technical terms because most of my tutorials are for people who are either licensed nail manicurists or people who are in school that are familiar with the terms. So, always be sure to place your first bead right at the stress point and then bring it down towards the free edge. Don't worry about adding a lot of acrylic towards the tip of the nail because most people don't break their nails at the tip. When nails are usually broken, it's broken at the stress point. As long as you have a sturdy stress point, you don't have to worry about the tips breaking. Maybe a little wear and tear after several weeks in terms of like maybe rounding off or filing down a little bit, just, you know, from natural wear and tear, but generally no breakage. If you noticed here, I'm going to put a little more acrylic on this nail only because I realized that I didn't place the bead down far enough past the stress point. The reason why you want to do that is because when you go to blend, if you put your ball a little bit past the stress point like I did, if you put your bead going back towards the stress point, when you blend with your pink or whatever other color you're going to be using in that ombre, it's going to be easier for you to hide the lines of the white when the white starts. If you don't get this part right, you may be able to see that unattractive line once you place your second color showing up through your second color. And it's an ombre, so you want it to blend perfectly and look good. So here I'm just placing the acrylic, letting it flow. Another good thing is I like to use self-leveling acrylic. That's an acrylic where, you know, once you put the acrylic on the nail, it kind of levels itself out. You hold the nail down and kind of let it run forward. And notice I'm patting the nail. I'm not brushing the acrylic on, but I'm using really brisk, soft patting strokes with the belly of the brush. I'm going to come in a little bit here so you can see up close. On the thumbnail. Getting the bead. Oh, and be sure to use a nice amount of liquid because when your brush, like I just add a little more liquid to my brush, when your brush is wet with monomer, it just helps you to be able to maneuver the acrylic much better. And you want to make sure your ball is wet or your acrylic bead is wet so that it can adhere to the nail. When you place a dry or semi-dry bead of acrylic on the nail, that is generally one of the major reasons for lifting. So don't use your monomer sparingly. Make sure you use a nice amount of monomer. Here I'm going to be doing the same thing, just placing the white. And if you look at it, I'm not making the white bead or the first application of white. I'm not making it thick. I'm going to add a little more here because I noticed I didn't go as far down as I would have liked to. I'm not making it really thick. I'm taking most of it off, just bringing it down the nail. The reason being is because the whole trick to having a perfect ombre look is to encapsulate the entire design with clear acrylic. So once you put your first color on, and in this tutorial I'm using white, but it can be whatever color you choose, and you go back and you put your pink or whatever other color you're going to be using, encapsulate that in clear, and that will help to give a very nice ombre effect. It'll help to give a blended look to your ombre. So if you're wondering why I'm not making my acrylic really thick, it's because I'm going to be going back at the end with a clear application of acrylic. So if you can see there, I just wet my brush a little bit more. You'll notice throughout the video, I love to make sure that my brush is wet, and it minimizes the sticking of your acrylic. When your brush is wet, you don't have to worry about the acrylic sticking to your brush and ruining your brush. I use Sable and Kolinsky hair brush. I love for my brushes to be real animal hair, so it's either Sable or Kolinsky. This here I'm using a size 10 Sable. I have every size from I think 8 all the way up to like a 20. It just and which one I use is determined on the size of the nail bed. If I have someone with a really small nail bed, I'll use like an 8. If I have someone with larger nail beds, I'll use a larger brush. I'm skipping that middle finger because I'm going to make that an accent nail. Oh, the paper towel that you see me using is Viva or Viva. You can buy it at Target. I don't use the brands with the ridges. I just use the regular flat, all white paper towel. I like it because it's super absorbent and it helps to keep my brush clean between applications. Also, you can find a really nice paper towel to use at like your local auto store. They're usually blue. I can't think of the name of them, but they sell them at like AutoZone. It's a really good durable paper towel. You want to be able to use a good paper towel when applying acrylics or using gel or any type of application using your brushes, because it helps to keep your brushes clean between applications. Your brushes should last you anywhere between 15 years, 20 years, 10 years. You should have your brushes for years if you take care of them. I never put acetone on my brushes, ever. Don't do it. It dehydrates the bristles and causes them to break. So you always want to use either a brush cleaner or use liquid monomer. Soak your brushes in liquid monomer. Usually what I'll do is pour them in a bowl. That way I can lay them at an angle so they won't be like going directly into any dish that would ruin the bristles. So I'll pour monomer or brush cleaner in a large bowl and lay my brushes at an angle and let them sit until they become clean. And periodically, not all the time, but sometimes I'll put coconut oil. I'll melt coconut oil and pour it or dip my brushes in coconut oil and let them sit overnight. That's a trick to keep your brushes for 20 years. So, message. I'll be giving a lot of tips out throughout this tutorial. So, if you want to write some things down just to remember, I haven't put anything in caption, or maybe I'll link it at the bottom of the video if I can remember some of the things or tips that I've given. But so I'm zooming in on this part so that you guys can get a good look at how I'm going to apply my pink base for this ombre look. And on another tutorial, I'll show you guys how much liquid that I add to my brush before picking up a bead. I just think that would be a separate tutorial. I didn't want to go into that, and then I have to have dishes where I can take my products and put them in dishes that doesn't have a label. I usually don't talk about the products that I use, um, because to each his own. I would say this though, you do need to know when you're purchasing acrylic, whether the acrylic that you're purchasing is a fast setting acrylic or a slow setting acrylic. If you are a nail tech that tends to work pretty fast, which I love to work really fast, I need and live and swear by a fast setting acrylic. I don't like slow setting acrylics. They generally usually have a little bit more oil in the monomer. So if you get a slow setting acrylic, it's because it has a little bit more of an oil base than an alcohol base. But as for me, I like the fast setting acrylic. As you can see, as soon as I put that bead on, it was just a tap, tap, tap. I didn't have to wait for it to dry because pretty much the moment I set the bead down, it's already starting to self level and dry. I can wet my brush a little bit and just pat and pat. Yeah, so that's it. As you can see here, I'm still applying a little bit more pink. Now this is just to make sure that I have enough acrylic around the stress point and to ensure the durability of the nail. I believe in nice nails. I like the different designs and everything, but I'm more focused on making sure that that nail is durable and it won't break. I'm going to bring it in a little closer here just so you can get a closer look at exactly how I'm applying my acrylic. If you notice with the other nails, just like this one, when I place the bead, I am not going to place the bead on the cuticle. Sometimes I wet the nail a little bit just to make sure that the bead has enough liquid to kind of slide. So I'm not touching the cuticle. I'm right at the cuticle, but I'm not touching the cuticle. I'm holding the nail downward so that gravity can start to pull the acrylic as I maneuver. And if you look, I'm using the belly of the brush. I use the tips to clean the sidewalls and the belly to pat, not the tip. Never use the tip of the brush. Use the belly of the brush from belly to tip to bring that acrylic down. Just want to make sure that it has enough acrylic, so I'm adding another bead and just bringing it down. Now, when you experience lifting, it's because you have gotten acrylic on the skin. So you always want, while the acrylic is still wet, you always want to take the tip of your brush and go around the cuticles to make sure that there's no acrylic on the skin. Same thing here with the thumb. I'm just going to lay a bead of acrylic again right at the cuticle, but not, well, this one, because it's the thumbnail and it's a little bit larger, I have a little more space to get from the cuticle to the stress point. So I don't go all the way to the cuticle because I want to make sure the stress point is covered. So now I'm going to place another ball right at the cuticle. And I'm using the tip of my brush, and make sure you clean your brush if there's any product. Make sure you clean your brush and you give it a little more liquid monomer. So that's going to help you maneuver. And liquid monomer is just liquid acrylic. It's a technical term for it, technical name for liquid acrylic. You learn that in nail school. Polymer is acrylic powder, and monomer is acrylic liquid. So while those nails are drying, I'm going to start the marbled look for this design. And what I'm doing is I'm picking up a few beads of 3 different colors, which is a light translucent pink, milky white, and a red. And I'm putting them all on the nail to create a marble effect. Notice I'm patting with the belly of the brush, not the tips. If you do a lot of work with the tip of your brush, you're going to notice that you're going to get acrylic clumps in your brush, and that is not what you want, because once a brush is damaged with acrylic clumps, you can just throw it away. It's going to be very difficult. On this particular part, I don't know what happened. The acrylic didn't want to come off of the brush, so I had to kind of maneuver it. As you can see here, I'm gently patting and working that acrylic down the nail. And if you see, I'm making pat strokes. I'm not rubbing, I'm not brushing. I'm making nice little strokes while patting. You see how I clean my brush? I usually clean my brush after, like, anything that I do, I clean my brush with off on the paper towel. This keeps your acrylic liquid from being contaminated with a lot of products and then having to pour it out. So if you're like, oh, every time I use my liquid, it gets thick, it gets cloudy, I don't know what's going on, it's because you're keeping too much product on your brush and putting it back into your monomer or your liquid acrylic, and now it's causing a chemical reaction. Whenever you see my hand blocking and you can't see what's going on, it's because I'm cleaning the sidewalls around the cuticle. I noticed after watching the video that I didn't realize that there was a few instances where my hands are in the way and you can't see what I'm doing. So anytime that happens, I'm only just cleaning the sidewalls, like you see me just do here. Just making sure there's no product on the cuticles, because that's very important to keep product off of the cuticle. I'm adding red to this to the nail, and just trying to get the cuticle as clean and flush as possible, or get the nail, or get the red and the pink close as possible to the cuticle. So now I noticed after putting the acrylic over this nail that didn't I wasn't like 100% okay with it. It seemed as though it was missing something. So I decided to add a little bit of iridescent and a little bit of pink glitter to the nail. Well, I'm going to be encapsulating all of these nails at the end with clear acrylic. So I decided to go ahead and add glitter to this nail, just to add a little more bedazzle. I know I'm going to be probably adding some type of other design to it, but I thought the glitter on top of the pink encapsulated, I mean on top of the marble and encapsulated with clear, will just give this nail a really good look. There you have it. It's really pretty. I like that. These are going to turn out really nice. And if you can see there how the nail, if you look at it from the side, you can see how the stress area, there's an adequate amount of acrylic, and then as it goes down to the free edge, it gets thinner. I like to lay my acrylic like that because I like for my nails to look, even though they're artificial, I don't like for them to look artificial per se. I like for them to have more of a natural look. So I add a lot of, most of my product, I should say, toward the back of the nail. Now here's when I encapsulate the nail the with the clear acrylic. Now the trick to this is make sure that your clear acrylic bead is very wet. Whenever you're encapsulating flowers or glitter or whatever you're putting or wishing to see through the acrylic, make sure you're using a clear acrylic with a lot of monomer. So you want your bead to be very runny. It doesn't matter who you get your acrylic, from. Acrylic is acrylic. And a lot of people are like, well, where should I get my clear acrylic that, I want a very clear or crystal clear acrylic. Where should I go to purchase it? It doesn't matter. Clear acrylic is clear acrylic. Okay? It's all about application. If you don't have enough monomer on that acrylic and you don't allow it to run down the nail, then you're going to have bubbles and it's going to be cloudy. So anytime you're doing encapsulation, you want to keep in mind, I need that bead to be wet, and I need to do a minimum amount of patting and brushing. I need it to run down the nail. And like if you can see here, I am maneuvering the acrylic, but it's very wet. So if you want to maneuver it even a little bit, make sure that it is extremely wet. And that way, whatever you're encapsulating, you'll be able to see clearly through the clear acrylic. Okay? And this process is done too because it just helps to blend or to give that perfectly blended look to your ombre. So I always encapsulate my ombres with clear. So when you see me lay my first bead of white at the tip, that's why I'm making it as thin as I can, and because I know I'm going to encapsulate it at the end with clear acrylic. And that's that for that hand. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit and let you watch it. I'm basically going to do exactly what I did in the first clip here. I'm going to be just laying the pink acrylic on top. So I'm going to speed it up and just let you watch. And once I finish with this part, I'll come back and explain the rest. Here I'm going to be doing a reverse pink and white. This is a method that I learned at a beauty show, a premier beauty show. Greg Salo, the owner of Young Nail Products, he taught me this method, and I've been so happy ever since. If you can look, I'm using a 3D nail art brush, and I'm forming a triangle. And the peak of the triangle is facing me, but I'm not making it pointy. I'm rounding it off. Okay, so if you can see there, I'm making a perfect triangle. I've dropped 3 balls or 3 beads in the center of the nail that I've picked up with my 3D nail art brush. And I'm patting backwards to blend the acrylic back and bring it forward. The goal is to create a perfect triangle right in the center of this nail. Now this right here is a jewel. I've zoomed out so you can see. This is my 3D nail art brush that I bought on Amazon about 10 years ago. And it works like it's brand new. And I'm using that to form the perfect triangle in the center of this nail. This is how I form my smile lines for my pink and whites, or if I'm doing any design that requires a smile line. Now I'm bringing the application of the acrylic up pretty high here, if you can notice. I'm not an inch off the nail, but I'm bringing the application of the acrylic up pretty high. The reason is because when I go to lay my second color at the tip, I want to be able to firmly press that color against the side walls of my triangle. Don't worry about it being too high, because you can always use your drill to bring it down if you need to, and you'll see me do that too at the towards the end of the video. Now I'm noticing that the triangle is not as perfect as I want it to be. So, well, no, not right here. On this part, I'm just adding extra acrylic, just bringing it back. Bringing it forward. And then I'm cleaning up the sidewalls to make sure that my triangle is still there. And I'll just do that going back just to be sure that I'm going all the way toward the cuticle. This is so relaxing. I was actually supposed to do the voiceovers last night, and I promised Instagram that I would be posting this video, and I literally fell asleep doing the voiceovers because it's so relaxing for me to watch myself do nails. And I watch so many tutorials on different nail designs, but when I watch myself, it makes me so sleepy. I don't know what it is. It's relaxing. And I don't think I follow anybody else who I watch and I can just fall asleep. Okay, here's that part I was telling you where I wanted to add a little more acrylic to the side of my triangle just to make sure that it's perfect. And this is one angle that you can look at, but I'm going to do it on the second angle too. So you see how I'm just going along the triangle? Almost like a oval nail. So basically I've made like an oval nail right onto the tip. I don't really want to say that because I don't want you to put in my oval nail and then you do an oval and yours don't look like mine. So stick with the triangle shape that I explained to you. But here I am again, just adding that little bit of acrylic, and I'm bringing it around like a half moon or like a C shape. More like a half moon or a crescent moon. Okay, and then I'm cleaning around the triangle. There you have it. See? So your first few beads are going to be done with your 3D nail art brush. Now while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and start to lay the clear acrylic over the ombre nails. And again, just like I did with the first tan, I'm going to make sure that I have a very wet bead of acrylic. I don't think that was wet enough, so I just got another one. Make sure the bead is really wet. You want it to be runny in this stage because you're just adding a little bit more of an enforcement just to make sure it doesn't break, and you're encapsulating the ombre nail to enhance the blended appearance. So if you look at that pinky, you see how well blended it looks with the clear acrylic over it. Just wait till you see the finished product. It's so pretty. I'm doing the same thing with this, just encapsulating. And that's the trick. The trick is, one, make sure your bead is a little bit past, and there it goes. My acrylic was sticking to my brush. Make sure your first bead is a little bit past the sidewall, going toward the cuticle. That's going to help your nails to look even more blended. And then make sure you're putting a thin application on. And then put your second color at the base and bring it forward. Blend it as much as you can. Don't worry about being perfect, because once you lay that acrylic, that clear over it like I'm doing now, voila. And I'm going to notice is I know a lot of people who follow me, watch my videos. Of course, they don't say, you know what, thanks, Crystal, for the tips. But I notice that the change in their application or just the perfection in their work, and I'll say, okay, that person must have watched my video. So just letting you know ahead of time. I'm going to know who saw this video, especially if I'm following you and you're following me too. I'm going back to my 3D nail art brush because I like to use the fine brush to apply my second coat when I'm doing a reverse pink and white, because I like to get the edges, and it just helps me not to waste product. I get just the right amount that I need to fill in the sides, and I do that. I'm going to do that going around the entire nail. I'm going to marble this nail also, but right around the smile line, I want it to be red. And it could be any color. I could have put white and marbled it, but I don't know. In this particular design, I want it red. I think I did this for Valentine's Day, so it was a Valentine's Day look. So I wanted to add a little bit more red. And then I usually just use my brush to clean off any color or excess color from the red, because red is highly pigmented. So sometimes that color, the dye, can get pretty messy. Same thing here. I'm just filling in the puzzle, or filling in the nail with red acrylic. And then I'm going to grab my other brush after I finish laying a few beads here. And right now I'm using pink, glitter, and clear. And I'm bringing it over. And I'm going to get my other brush, wet it, and then just pat and maneuver. And remember I told you that when you make your triangle, You can make it a little high. Don't worry about it. Don't make it an inch off the nail, but a little higher than normal. This is why, because when you start to pack that color around the nail, you want to be sure that it has a very defined smile line. So if you make your beads too thin, or if you make your triangle in the center of the nail too thin, then you're not going to have a very clean look when you're finished. So make sure that you're adding enough product to your triangle when you're doing your reverse pink and whites. And yes, it takes a lot of time, but when I was taught this method by Greg, he said, well, Crystal, you should be charging by the hour. Why are you worried about how much time it takes? So it just gave me a different perspective. But the thing of it is, whether it takes a lot of time or costs a little bit more, it's a great look every time. It's almost like you cannot mess this up. The only way you're going to mess it up if you don't get your first bead right in the center of the nail. Then your pink and white is going to look lopsided. But if you can angle your first bead right in the center and start to form that triangle, you're going to have a great looking pink and white every time. So thank me later. And no, I mean it, really thank me, because most people don't after they watch the videos, and I usually know who watched the videos, because like I said, I can tell the difference in your work. So there you have it. A nice, fresh, ombre, milky white, and pink set of nails. So good. I love that. Oh my God, it looks good. It looks good. It's not even done and it looks good. I can just leave it like that. What did I want to say? Oh, when filing the nail, if you can see here how I'm using my middle finger to hold the nail. I usually do that when filing because it helps me to angle my file in a way where it's leveled and I can bring in the coffin shape. It just helps me with shaping. Always hold the nail. I hold it with my thumb, or I'll either hold it with my, depending on what side I'm filing. For the right side, I'm holding it with my, or the left side, I think, I'm holding it with my index, my middle finger, and for the opposite side, I'll hold it with my thumb and just file an angle. But anyway, that would be a separate video on filing. This video is not particularly about filing, so I'm just going to speed it up here just to kind of get to the next phase. So here's the part where I'm going to be using my nail drill. Now here I'm using a regular nail drill file. I think they call them carbide files. I'm not sure, but it's just a regular nail file. What I like to do, and you'll see me doing it a lot, is I like to hold my nail down, hold the client's nail facing downward, and then I like to take the drill and go up the sidewall, around the cuticles, and down the other sidewall. So I make like a horseshoe or like a U. I do that a few times to clean the cuticles, and then I'll go down the nail. Here's a trick with that. You want to make sure every time you change your file that you also take that file, turn your drill on, and you want to file down the edges. This will ensure that you do not cut your client when going around a cuticle. So it looks as though I'm going around the cuticles very seamlessly. The client is not getting cut. It's because I file my edges down every time I change my bit. Okay? So anytime I change my drill bit, I file it down around the edges by turning on my electric file and running the edges over a handhead file, just until the edges are smooth. And when they're not cutting, I just changed it right now and got a new file, and I had to run the edges of the new file over a hand file, a very coarse hand file, in order to make sure that I can go around the cuticles like that without cutting the client. And I just bring it right down. So if you ever see my hand moving in that motion and you're trying to see what I'm doing, I'm just going over the nail. I got a little trick that I'm going to teach you too about my metal drill bit. I'm going to tell you once I get to that part. I'm going to give you another tip. But again, hold the fingernail down. Well, once you go over the nail, hold the fingernail downward, go up the sidewall, around the cuticles, and down the other sidewall in a U-shape motion. What I like about the handheld drills, and most people don't like it, but I love the drill. It helps to speed time. It helps to save time, and it speeds up the process. But you can clean around the nail. You can drill any excess products from around the free edge. It just really helps to get that nail clean. Now, this particular bit is a blessing, but it can be a curse. Now, I've had this bit for 2 years. This is my metal drill bit. And people ask me all the time, how can I use it like this? And I'll tell you. You can go to Walmart, Target, Myers, or someplace like that, wherever they sell barbecue grills, and get the brush. There's a metal brush that they use to clean barbecue grills. You can just ask, Ace Hardware, do you have those little brushes, those metal brushes to clean barbecue grills? They'll tell you. When you'll buy one of those, whenever you get this metal carbide drill bit brand new, you want to turn it on and run it over that metal brush. That's going to help you file down the edges so that you won't cut your client. If you don't do that, it's going to be a murder in the chair. I promise you, you're going to be killing your client's fingers. This thing comes very, very sharp. So, and there's no gentle way or way you can get around it. When you buy this bit for the first time, make sure you're running it over something coarse, metal, concrete, anything you can to just file the edges. And once you do that, this thing will be your best friend for years. I take off gel polish with it. Um, I buff with it. I clean with it. In terms of like doing hard to reach spots like under the nail, cleaning excess acrylic. Um, it's just a really good drill bit to have. And it, like I said, I've had mine for about 2 years. I contemplated on buying a new one, but the ones that I have, and I have some that comes like already rounded, where you don't have to do that whole filing the edges down, but I don't like those. It's a little too round for me. I like the one that I'm using. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. It's small. It's my favorite. And I think I do have two of those. I contemplated on buying another one. But anyway, I'm just buffing here. This is just, and I sped this part up because, we all know how to buff. You don't even have to be in nail school or have taken any classes to know how to buff a nail. But the nails are already buffed because that metal carbide bit that you saw me use, it's a buffer. Now watch, I'm going to go behind myself on every nail and just really clean up around the cuticles. And another thing, this process will ensure that your clients will not lift. It's literally taking any product that is caught between the cuticle and the nail bed away, which is the major cause of lifting, right? So cuticle sidewalls, very clean. This is the drill that I use to clean off the cuticles and the sidewalls really well. It's a little buff and a little shine, and voila. I tried to crop a lot of the video, like a lot of the buffing and filing, just unnecessary stuff that, you really don't need to see. I tried to crop a lot of that out, so forgive me. So, it looks like I'm on to the second hand. If you see, I got my metal drill bit again, and I'm filing down the nail. Because remember when I was telling you guys that I like to put a lot of product on at first when I'm building my triangle? Well, at this part, I take the drill, and I come down the nail with a back and forward motion to blend it, to make sure there's no lumps. If that little pink area is still a little bit too high, I bring it down some. Right now I'm just filing. Nothing different than when I was doing it on the first hand. Just filing the sidewalls or the side of the nail. That looks so good. And I'm not even done yet. I really like using handheld files. I know how to use handheld files really well, but it takes a long time to really get the nail the way I want to when I'm using a handheld file. It just cuts down time using this particular one. My drill. I love using it. So it's that area where I told you you hold the nail down and go around the nail in a horseshoe shape, and then you just, or it doesn't matter, whichever one. Down, around, down. That's how you clean the cuticles. So I always take my drill and clean the free edge. I do the sidewalls really well, both sides. And then the whole Down, around, down. In this case, I'm going on the back and forth motion first, just to make sure that there's no lumps. And then once I make sure that there's no lumps. Oh, and that's another thing. When you're laying your acrylic and your bead is wet and you're letting it self-level, you're going to minimize your time for filing. If you are putting beads on the nails that are not wet, but they're still kind of dry, then you're going to have lumps and you're going to spend like 45 minutes just trying to file out the lumps. So the goal is to lay a perfect set, so that once you're finished putting on the acrylic, you're pretty much finished with the entire look. You don't want to lay acrylic and then spend another 2 hours filing nails. And don't let people tell you, oh, I don't like to use a drill, it's damaging to the nail. Yeah, it's damaging if you don't know how to use it. But if you know how to use the drill, the speed that I use my drill on, I usually turn my palm to the ceiling and put the drill on my arm just to show people, you know, this is the speed I'm going to be filing your nail on. Okay? And this is on the inside of my arm. There's no blood here. There's not going to be any blood on your nail. And that usually helps your client to get a little more comfortable, because most people have been abused in the manicuring chair with unprofessionals or self-taught or people who just don't know how to use products and the equipment properly. Okay, so with the pink and whites, or the reverse pink and whites, or the reverse smile line, this is the one time I get to use my handheld file across the nail. I love filing across the nail. It just makes it look so good and clean. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm filing across the top of the nail, just making sure that it's a perfect blend. And there you have it. I noticed that when I was filing across the nail, I took a little bit of the glitter off. So I'm just adding it to the end, and it doesn't matter. I also noticed that there was like a nice little line, a gap between my pink application and the cuticle. So I'm adding a little bit more pink here just to make sure that it's enough around the cuticles. But first, I'm going to encapsulate the glitter with the clear. And then I noticed, like, wait a minute, it's not enough pink on here. So I added a little pink, just a tad bit, to make sure that there's no space between the cuticle and the nail, giving an illusion like the nail needs to fill in already when it really doesn't. So there you have it. This look is almost done. I just want to encapsulate this entire nail with clear, just to be sure that it's sturdy and that it has enough acrylic just to keep that nail durable. And there you have it. Looks really good. I'm so proud of how that turned out. Now, while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and start to buff and file the ombre nails. Just get them very clean. Same thing here. Nail facing downward. Go around the cuticle in an upward motion, forming a U, and coming down the nail. Now, I'm showing you a lot in this video. Like, it only takes a little bit to do a lot. So some of the tips that I'm giving you, it seems like, oh, a duh. But once you start practicing it this way, this method, you're going to know how to for real lay a perfect set. Really. I'm just being honest. I could do classes, but I'd rather do YouTube videos. Because you can watch it over and over and over again. You can pause it, you can watch it, you can do someone's nails while watching it and mimic. So I think you guys will get more out of a YouTube video than a class. Although if someone just absolutely needs a class and they're in the Michigan area, I mean, I'll give a class on it too, but really don't need a class with YouTube. And so here's the thing. I know my videos are just like straight to the point, but I'm a YouTuber. I like to watch YouTube videos. And when I go to channels and people are talking for 30 minutes before they get into what I actually clicked on the video for, I usually either A, skip all of the talking if I really want to watch something, or just skip that video altogether. So, having said that, I probably won't be doing a lot of, talking and, having 15 minutes of you just looking at me talk before I start doing the work. My first video I went straight into the work, and I had a lot of people calling me like, thanks for going right into the meat and potatoes, because I don't like all of that extra commentary. So, there you have it. That's how I feel, and hope you understand. Now, that's not to say I'm never gonna do any commentary. I mean, maybe one day I will, but right now, when I'm filming these videos, I just go right into the work, and it works best for me like that. So, I hope you enjoy it. And give me a thumbs up and like and share. And even subscribe, because I'm going to be doing more stuff. Like, I'm going to try to put up more videos, at least. I can't even give a number. I'm just going to try to put up more. If you comment below what you would like to see me do, then I'll have a better idea of what my next video should be on. But I pretty much do anything. If it's related to nails, the dipping system, acrylic, gel, embeds or inlays or whatever you want to call them, tips, sculptures. I usually only do sculptures. I just did tips for this YouTube tutorial, so I know for sure my next video is going to be about like how to properly lay sculptures and how to just A to Z, how to do a full set of sculptures. I'll show you that. Maybe like stiletto, square, I don't know. I don't even know if I'll do a full set. I probably just do like one square, one stiletto, one coffin. We'll see. But anyway, I'm doing the same thing with this nail, just cleaning around it. I put that clear application on pretty neat, and I've done most of the correcting that I need to do to this nail, so I didn't have to do a lot of filing. Just like a little cleanup. That's pretty much it. Which I absolutely love this drill. I had a nail tech, one of my friends, she's like, do you like using this drill bit? Because I usually cut my clients. I was like, well, watch the video. I'm going to be telling you how to use this drill bit, because it's actually one of my favorite drill bits. I'm telling you. If I lose that one, I'm for sure going to have to buy another one. But I take pretty good care of them. So, and then they're sanitizable. That's what makes it really a good product, because not only can you soak it in acetone to like get any product buildup off, but once you do that and you put it in a little Barbicide and let it soak and you clean it, it just looks so good. And look how good those nails are. Look how good they look. Oh my God. There you have it. The finished product. You know that looks good. Very clean and neat. Perfectly blended. Smile line very defined. Very clean. The shaping is like wonderful. Now I'm going to speed it up here. Only because this video was not necessarily meant. I wasn't filming this video for to show you how to lay stones, but I decided at the last minute to keep this part with laying the stones in the video. So I'll just show you just a little bit. I'll do another tutorial on how to lay the stones properly, in terms of how to tailor the stones around the nails so that it fits. Like, I notice a lot of times I'll see different texts. They'll have like really large stones on a nail, and they'll put like a bunch of them, and it doesn't really look tailored and clean. So there's a method to that. I mean, you'll see it a little bit here on this video, but I'm going to one day, probably soon, do a video just on the application of stones and how to lay your stones so that they look great. I'm using a wax pencil. I do have a crystal katana, but I mean, I don't want to. I'll just say this. I paid 99 cents for this, and I got like 100 of them. And I like the way they work more than any other method of placing stones. So there you have it. I like to use the wax pencils. You can just sharpen them in a pencil sharpener and just go for what you know. Even if it gets like product on it, you can either wipe it off or just pinch that teeny weeny piece of product off. Usually I don't get product on mine because I don't use glue for my stones anymore. I used to before I discovered how to lay my stones using gel, and I love it. I will never ever change again. That will be my method of laying stones forever. Oh, and then another thing, when I do that video on how I lay my stones, I'll tell you what gel to use and everything. When I put my larger stones on, I dry it right away. So like I'll put the larger stones on and cure it in the light. I'm sorry if you're using the word dry. I'll cure the stone, the gel right away, and then I'll start placing my smaller stones. And this is because I don't like for my stones to fall off. My larger stones will slide. So to prevent that and to be able to work around them, I usually just cure the larger stones onto the nail first, and then I'll move on to placing the smaller stones because they don't move around as much. If you can see here, I'm using a very thin dotter just to keep those stones in place. And if you use small stones, you don't need a lot of gel. The smaller stone sticks. Well, like I said, I'm going to do another video on stone application. And because you're not going to just use the small stones. I mean, because it'll probably take you 3 hours just to lay stones. It's a method. So I'll give a video on that. But you see how pretty this is already? Not even done yet. Sorry about my hand being in the way too, guys. I tried my best to make sure that everything was visible to the camera, but sometimes when I'm filming, I'll get to working and I get so into it, I forget that I'm filming. And it depends on who I'm working on. That person is talking or we just having a conversation. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I was filming. So, and right now I'm just laying the stones. I've already put the gel around the nail. I'm laying the stones and I'm using my very small dotter to keep the stones in place. If they were to slide a little. And now I'm tailoring. I call this method tailoring around like the cuticles and the sidewall and the tighter spots. You got to know which stone to use. And that's it. I had so much fun doing this set too. It was for Valentine's Day. It wasn't on Valentine's Day, but it was near Valentine's Day and kind of like a theme, the theme of Valentine, but not like a bunch of hearts and stuff like that because I knew. I didn't even show you guys this particular design because when the other nail was curing, I started this nail. I knew I wasn't going to like put a bunch of stones like I did the other one. So basically what I did was put a few large stones on the nail and just kind of tailored some smaller stones around them just to add a little dimension and sparkle to the nail. So I like this one too. So both of them were nice. I mean, two different looks, but they both were nice, you know. And I purposely did that just to show, like, you know, you can do a completely stone nail and it looks great, or you can, you know, just add a few stones to the nail and still have a very nice outcome. Look at that. Voila. Now I'm going to follow it up with a clear coat of gel polish, which is what I'm doing now. Sorry, I'm about to jump. Oh, okay, so I'm going to put some drag art using gel polish on this nail. So I just put some clear polish and a few beads of white gel, and I'm just dragging with my striper. Very simple, easy design. A lot of people like it. I don't have to do a lot of work to it because I've already marbleized the nail, put glitter under the acrylic, did a reverse smile line. Yeah, we're done with that nail. Oh, with that hand. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm just going to... Or did I do it already? I think I did it already. I don't... Oh, did I show it? I don't know. I don't think I did that. Did this one on film. Yep. So I did the same thing to that hand. I just added some clear polish, white dots, drag the art.